Hello, everyone. This is Dr. S. This is the third part of 3 different videos on rapid idea prototyping. Let's go ahead and jump in. This is about process and resources. So the first thing that we're trying to do is we're trying to ultimately break and build things better. So what we're going to do is we're going to build prototypes to your best guess, and then we're going to ask people, customers, experts, other members of your team, other people that are just in the know to help break it and make it better. And this can be a lot of fun because people actually want to engage with you to say, you just say, I don't think this is right. I think there's problems with it. And I want you to help me break it apart, find out what's wrong with it, and make it and build it even better. People will jump in on this. It's something that you should be having a lot of fun with. All right, so that's our main aim. So what are some of the principles and guidelines that can help us along the way? Again, this is from the book by Osterwalder and his group with value proposition design. There's 10 basic principles and guidelines. I'm not going to go deeply into each, but I'll touch on each one, and you can pause the video if you like, if you want to read more about it. And of course, you can always get the book. First of all, make it visual and tangible. We've already talked about this. It's getting it out of your head, making it so other people can see it. Embrace a beginner's mind. The idea is you want to be able to think freshly about this. Allow your brain not to be stuck on things that you have in your past, which can become blocks for your creativity and your prototyping. Don't fall in love with your first idea. As I've mentioned, almost every single time you're wrong early on. You're trying to dial it in and work it so that you eventually might actually be right. Feel comfortable in a liquid state. This is the idea that things are going to be fluid. They're going to keep moving as you gain more data. The prototype will change. Your whole idea and concept about the customer, about the problem, about the offering, and how they all fit together will change. Start with low fidelity, iterate, and refine. This is fundamentally critical. People think you have to have fancy stuff to prototype. You really don't. Start simple, tape, and cardboard. We'll go through some examples here in a little bit about how you can go about doing this. Start easy and get out there and iterate, which is the critical thing, which is exposing your work early. Seek criticism, seek feedback, seek people to help break and build it. And that's learning. Thus, you're going to be learning faster by failing early, often, and cheaply. And cheaply is critical because we don't want to build things that nobody wants. And we're going to do this in multiple iterations. You can have dozens of different prototypes, changing different things as you talk to each and every different person that you put it in front of, so you'll want to do it inexpensively. Use creativity techniques, which totally makes sense. We have a variety of things to do that. And then the last couple involve the Shrek model. This is the idea that you might build a prototype that's actually kind of outrageous to get people sparked into debate and different ways of thinking. Build for the extreme customer and see what happens. There's actually a whole line of thinking related to building for extreme customers, because if you build for an extreme customer and they are satisfied, it's likely that the average customer will be satisfied. And finally, track your learnings, insights, and progress. This is critical. This is the evidence that we're asking you to do for your venture projects, as well as it's important for you and your team to understand how your prototype is evolving. Take pictures, use the test cards, use your BIC, use the learning cards as well. Okay, there's the principles. Let's move on to talking about the types of different prototypes you can create. These can be from the simple to the complex. You start simple and you'll get more complex as you learn more. They can be physical, virtual, 2D, and 3D, but ultimately everything is aimed at your learning for your work. You're not trying to sell anything. You're just trying to learn so you can dial it in to get fit, as we talked about in video 2. And when should you prototype? As soon as you can. As soon as you have a hunch about any of the different variables, you can start to prototype. All right, let's talk about the different types of prototypes you might have. For example, you might have 2D and physical ones on paper. You can actually use napkins. I mean, that's the old classic idea. Sketch one out on a napkin. I did that once at a place called the Green Dragon down in Portland, Oregon. It was a bar. I sketched out an idea, ultimately earned me about $50,000. You can use ad libs. Those are fun anyway. You can create your own ad libs for being able to fill in blanks and see what sorts of things that you could create. Again, there's more detail on these different things in that book. Third, you can use the value proposition canvas. We talk about this in our classes. The value proposition canvas, again, makes it physical and visible for people to be able to understand what you've got going on. Going on from there, you've got your 3D physical and constructed ones. This is the one that we talk about most. Build something that's a representation of it. It's not the actual thing. It doesn't work. It doesn't matter. It gets people thinking and be able to break it and build it better with you. And you can ultimately, when you get further on, actually create something that may work in some way so that people can actually try it out. Now, it's not a prototype of the ultimate product. That's a different type of prototyping. This is idea prototyping. It might actually function enough so that they could look. Other ways that you can prototype. There's this concept called wireframes. This comes out of the tech world. You can do 2D virtual. Here's one of some smartphone app wireframes. You can do 3D renderings with CAD programs or just drawing it out using your art skills from your junior high art classes. And you can also do things that get more complex, where you do like 3D sort of virtual sketches in different software programs that ultimately can get 3D printed. And here's an example of a gaming helmet that someone did. Even more examples. You can map out customer journeys. This is a prototype. You can put this in front of customers and say, is this actually how it's happening? You can look at the different tasks they're going through, the needs they have, the touch points they might have. You can, of course, use whiteboards to be able to do all of this stuff. So what other sorts of resources might you need to make prototyping happen? People think that you need all sorts of expensive stuff. I'm a huge fan of just using clean recyclable materials, clean garbage. You got egg cartons here, you got cups and paper, you got bottles, you got cardboard. And all you need is to use those things, which are basically art supplies, but you don't have to go buy a bunch of stuff. Just go down to the recycling down the hall. You need connectors. So go get yourself a stapler, get some tape, get some rubber bands, get some paper clips, and other types of office supplies. You need to be able to cut stuff. You need to be able to draw. Glue's another type of connector. Toys, office, any sort of office supplies, anything that you can have at hand can help. The key is it can be done with little or no money. Most people say, well, I got to have all these special supplies, because you see all these things in the videos and movies. You don't have to have it done. I was taught by professional prototypers, use this stuff and you'll be just fine. And so what's the ultimate process? How do you do this? Well, you're in the design thinking process. So you're doing empathy, you're defining the problems, you're ideating, and you're ultimately prototyping. With your team, having fun building all of this stuff. You move on, you're building your BIC, you're building your test cards, and ultimately you're building these interviews where you put the thing in front of people so that you can learn from them, real humans out of the building, getting their feedback, so that you can have forward-leaning, iterative learning cycles. Prototyping is a critical and essential component for us to bring ideas to impact.